In all my years as an artist, there's always been something that's eluded me. 3D, Triple Deluxe, Penguin Royalty. The third dimension has been a part of art for about as long as personas, apparently. I've made my fair share of sculptures and dioramas. I dabbled in stop motion back in middle school with my 3DS and some Go-Go's. I'm lying, it was high school. And these were all forms of art that required some use of physical depth, not only X and Y axes, but also Z. But my art heart has always belonged to traditional, hand-drawn 2D art. Drawing on a flat plane is quick, it's snappy. I just drew this little bunny in the time it took to say this sentence. In 2D, stylization knows no bounds. You can make characters that would be absolute abominations viewed from the front somehow look kinda okay. There's just something so raw about drawings when compared to 3D models, and I love it. I love 2D! 2D's nuts! And today, 3 of D's. I kinda always shrugged off the idea of learning 3D art and animation. Anytime my relatives would hear that I was interested in making cartoons and stuff, they'd always suggest that I work at Pixar, and I would roll my eyes, cause assholery starts early. They obviously mean well, but come on, Aunt Shelby. Did Pixar make Adventure Time? Did Disney make SpongeBob? Did DreamWorks make freaking Uncle Grandpa? I'll wait. I was a complete toon head growing up, and frankly, making something like this...
Hey, what kind of Pokemon is that? Misty! Misty!
seemed way more attainable to me than something like this. Do you know how to do that? I don't know how to do that, and I certainly don't think I would have been able to learn on my little red 2010 notebook that struggled to even run Mother 3. 2D was more appealing to me anyways, so when I finally figured out this whole animation thing, I was more than okay with just staying put in my comfy little flat. See, if you were British, that would be clever wordplay, but in America, it's just confusing, because we're all confused here. Nowadays, you don't even need a beefed up computer to run 3D animation software, because most laptops can just do that now. I'm sure you've heard about how your phone has more processing power than the Apollo 11 had landing on the moon. But did you know the Apollo 11 had less power than the legendary TI-84 calculator? That's insanity. Insanity, love. What was I saying? Oh yeah, 3D. It's basically never been more accessible to everyone than it is right now, and things are only getting better in that regard, largely thanks to this. Wait. Blender is an open source 3D modeling, rigging, animationing software. It's been steadily receiving updates and improvements and has been free to download for everyone for any reason since 2002. And I'm just really late to the party. I am cleaning up the party. But it's never too late to learn, even for you. Yes, you. I've been wanting to learn how to model, rig, and animate in 3D for a few years now, but I always felt like it was going to be this huge endeavor that would use up time I could be using to work on this channel, or on improving my drawing skills, or on sleeping. I thought I needed some kind of justification for putting my energy into something that, frankly, I'm pretty intimidated by. But then I realized that I'm a YouTuber. And if there's one thing YouTubers love to do, it's turning stupid stuff into dumb challenges. So why not turn learning this valuable skill into some kind of less dumb challenge? What if I can learn 3D in 3 days? I'm going to try and pick up Blender and see just how deep I can get into this whole Z-axis thing within 3 days, while live streaming my process on twitch.tv/Jacadamia. I don't have an exact goal in mind, but I want to hopefully have some finished product to show by the end of 3 normal days. I'm not going to be staying up for 72 hours or working straight from dawn to dusk. I don't think I can actually learn like that and blah blah healthy work-life balance, you know the gist. I'm also going to try and keep tutorial watching to a minimum. Also, bear in mind, I'm not starting from complete scratch here. I took an After Effects class in college a few years ago, and there are some 3D things you can do in that program, like moving around virtual cameras and tilting flat images and stuff. I also tried to do the one donut tutorial a lot of people watch, but I got like 30 minutes in and then forgot all about it for 2 years. Oh, here it is. So I don't have complete 3D virginity. It is starting to grow back though. So let's go, go, go! I started the day with Louis Zong's wonderful How I Approach Illustration in Blender video, where Louis does an excellent job talking about and demonstrating Blender in a way that feels very easy to grasp and exciting to think about. It's not a full-on tutorial, but I can't recommend this video enough for people who are at all interested in learning 3D or who just want a nice creative boost. By the end of the 12-minute runtime, I was honestly feeling really inspired and itching to get started. Wait, no, that's a rash. I did some yoga, ate a sandwich, set up my stream, and then it was time. Time for me to forget all of the hotkeys that Louis went over. I thought watching through his video probably wouldn't be enough for it all to sink in, so I actually watched it twice, and that still wasn't enough. It's not Louis' fault at all. I just went live, and my mind went blank, and I didn't want to pull up the tutorial because nobody wants to watch someone watch a tutorial. So I was just fumbling around for 10 minutes like an idiot. Press tab, okay. Whoa, what happened? What happened? What is this? It's orange now. Until my friend Kris, desperate to make it stop, asked if they could call to give me a little tour of the program. And of course I said yes. Kris was a lifesaver. They really gave me a good rundown of the basics, and I think physically going through a lot of the options and hotkeys got them to stick in my head a lot better than just watching a video would have.
Hit spacebar. Now that we know spacebar is the search button, you can literally do anything. Like, you can type...
Kill.
I don't know what people do. But, like, every operation you can do is here. So it's just nice to know that that's there. Gosh, I don't even know... I don't know, like, an example.
The whole time they were talking, though, I, like, really had to pee. I was trying to hold in that as well as all the info, so as soon as they signed off, I had to sprint to the bathroom to let it all out. The piss, hopefully not the knowledge. Returning to my computer, it was time to truly begin. I wanted to keep things simple to start, so I thought, why not make some kind of stage to put whatever else I wind up creating on top of? Because life is a stage, and all of us merely people standing on a stage. It was simple enough to do. After the stage, I thought I'd kick it up a notch by making a chair. Building it was a bit more complex, but it taught me more about loop cuts. Basically, creases you can add to your models that you can then transform them from. Kind of like origami to the third power. I also learned about adding more shapes to a model, contorting them, and mirroring. With mirroring, you only have to make one side of a model, and then it'll get duplicated across a specific axis, so you don't have to worry about making both sides of a symmetrical object. The chair became a bench, and it was, a little wonk. But perfection is the enemy of completion, so I decided it was good as is and placed it and its siblings in front of my little stage. Next, I wanted to add a window to my stage so I could see inside it better, but people were telling me that I had made the stage a little strangely because I made the raised platform out of my initial cube instead of just adding in another separate object to be the stage. I don't know, I thought I was being clever when I did that, but it also made trying to add a window incredibly difficult, and Kris had to come back as a golf ball and help me fix it with the help of the chat.
I'm a ball. I'm a sweaty ball. Oh God.
Lesson 1 of Blender. There are tons of different ways to get the same things done, and then just as many ways to break them. I'd already been streaming for about 3 hours at this point, and I was starting to feel a bit more confident, so I thought making a super simple low poly Macamo could be the next step. Building a character model gave me a lot more opportunities to try out funky meshes and shapes. My chat told me it would be wise to make Macamo out of multiple separated objects, rather than just adding on shapes to the same object layer, so that it would be easier to animate it down the line. So that's what I did. The whole process was surprisingly really fun, partially because I went into it not expecting to make something perfect or that complex. And then I felt like I really hit my stride and wound up making a much more complete model than I thought I would. Wait, look at this. The stream had gone on for close to 6 hours now, so I decided to end it feeling really satisfied with my progress and really freaking hungry. Day 1 actually went way better than I anticipated. I did a lot more than I expected to, and laying in bed that night, I thought that these next 2 days might not be so bad. Maybe even a little too easy. Day 2 was off to an incredible start. Woke up, pain. My shoulder and neck hurt. I had this tight, dull ache like someone had been punching my right side while I was asleep, dreaming of polygons. Spending 6 hours clicking and dragging must have been like a shock to my body because I do stretches, I do yoga. It turns out being an artist and having one kind of poor posture doesn't prepare you for having a different kind of poor posture. After shambling out of bed, I spent the morning watching 2 videos by Carlino. One 45-minute on character modeling for beginners and another 10-minute one called Rigging for Impatient People. Joey's videos are a lot more tutorial than Louie's, but are still pretty succinct and packed to the brim with good tips and information. Remembering everything seemed unlikely considering how much there was and the whole cramming nature of my challenge, but I figure every bit of absorbed knowledge helps, even if it's just general ideas. With the modeling done yesterday, I could feel a potential schedule of sorts forming. Today, I could color and rig Mo so they'd be ready for posing and animation, and then I could spend the final day animating and prettying everything up. I'd probably even have extra time. But first, how could I be doing 3D modeling without a pair of these, huh? Yeah, they don't really fit. So when it comes to adding color and textures and stuff to a 3D model, there are a few ways to go about it. I think the general best way to paint a model is through UV unwrapping and mapping. On my mouse, I keep tapping. I'm clicking and clacking. My brain can't be slacking. My face I've been slapping. My shoulder is racking and I don't like fracking. So my understanding of UV unwrapping is like, you peel off the skin of your model and then flatten it so you can see all the surfaces of it at once in order to color everything and draw on details. But we're not doing that. Kris told me UV mapping can be pretty tedious and overwhelming for newcomers, and since my model is relatively simple, I'm going to be using the material and texture painting methods of coloring. We're going baby mode and just assigning colored materials to each object and then painting on the details directly. Way simpler. Normally, I'd be one to dive into the more useful method for precision and control, but this is a race against time. I am the horse, and these are my blinders. Most of the coloring was pretty straightforward, and when I got up to Makima's tail, I thought a gradient could be a neat, simple way to illustrate the lighter tip without having to manually paint it. That should be simple, right? Like, gradients are one of the easiest things you can do in Clip Studio. Click, click. Well, not so much in Blender. In order to add a gradient, I had to take off my proverbial floaties and dive into the node zone. Click the shading tab on the top bar. Okay. Whoa, what the heck? What is going on? I don't even want to try to explain nodes. They're like thingies you can plug into certain parts of other thingies to change properties of said thingies. There's numbers and ports, and after getting a glimpse of all of it and basically needing the chat to tell me exactly what to do just to make a simple gradient, I needed to put my floaties back on. Lesson 2 of Blender. Things you think should be simple might not be. Once I finished prettying up Makimu, combine, I was ready for rigging, but the model was not. I've done rigging in 2D, so I'm not completely alien to it. It's when you add bones to the model so it can be posed and moved around. But in 3D, there are a few more steps to do beforehand, so I decided to duplicate Makimo, so if I messed him up beyond comprehension, I would still have the copy to go back to and start over with. Like it never even happened. It's recommended to apply your modifiers when you feel happy with your model so that all the changes you made, like mirroring and stuff like that, get baked into the model and become part of it forever. After that, I wanted to move Mo to the world origin so that it'd be easier for me to line up all the bones correctly. He had to be lined up perfectly, so it wasn't going to be a simple drag and drop operation. But luckily, I had an expert on my side.
Once your model selected, try searching selection to cursor.
Search that?
Yeah. And then do it.
Okay.
Selection to cursor.
Selection to cursor.
Yeah.
Boop. Oh my god! Oh my god!
All right.
Once I knew the nut would be in the right spot, the edging was over, and it was time to bone. Rigging a model can be kinda tedious, but... Look! Face it! Now I don't know about you, but I like my nuts smooth. So we can just boop, click a little button, and there we go. Moisturized and all. I wanted to try and see if I can make Makimo have more of a textured look, like make his sweater all fuzzy or whatever. But to do that, I had to go back to the node zone, and it was even more complicated than before. I had to deal with a whole crazy mass of nodes to get the sweater to look how I wanted. And it didn't even work. It kept looking sweaty, like super moist. I know it's called a sweater, guys, but come on. Boo. Tons of people were trying to help me out, but it was to no avail, and I wound up, again, puffing my floaties up and just forgetting about the whole texture thing. I moved Makimo around to the stage I had made, set up some lights, and where did his toes go? And his mask? So I had to redo the texture paint because apparently you need to save them as image files or else they might just decide to stop existing. Very cool. Thank you, Blender. Overall, day 2 was a lot more tedious and not as impressive when it came to feeling like I had learned and done a lot. Yesterday was like, wow! And today was like, eh. Looking under the hood a bit, I realized how little I know about Blender and how much I would have to put off learning if I wanted to make a finished project by the end of the final day. But people were reassuring and they told me that I'd still done a lot and was at a really good spot for someone who only started using Blender the day before. Even though I ended the stream an hour and a half sooner than yesterday's, I felt just as spent, maybe even more. My brain could not take in any more information. You could have told me leprechauns were real and a large stash of gold was under my house and I wouldn't have blinked. Stopping was kind of necessary. But I'm staring at the ceiling now, and I thought the final day should turn out okay, but I don't know, man. What if it doesn't? Waking up, something has shifted. I feel a renewed sense of confidence. I do my yoga and feel a lot better physically. This is it. The final day of my self-imposed challenge that has little to no consequence for me failing, but I'm still gonna act like it's a big deal anyway. I'm ready. Before streaming, I reached out to the folks on Twitter for some dance recommendations. Makimo's gotta have something to do on that stage, and video reference would be nice. The replies were rolling in, and I was seeing lots of Gritty's Default Nights, the Carlton. I just wanted something a bit more beginner-friendly, and wouldn't you know, I found it. Back in Blender, I restored Mo's toes unto him. And then I was going to bestow some elbows, but his skeleton decided to take a little trip. Oh, it's right here. After I realigned their spine, I needed to give Makimo some elbows if they were going to be able to actually do any dances, because I guess most people don't dance like Minecraft characters. But adding these were a lot more of a trial than anticipated, and I was starting to smell my deadline in the air. Animation time! Animating in 3D wasn't really all that different from animating a 2D rig. You can move individual body parts, go frame by frame, use motion tweening, but there are things about animating in Blender that make me feel insane. Primarily, no onion skin. Normally, you're able to see backward and forward a couple frames so you have better reference for where your current frame falls in an animation. But here, there's nothing. You just have to rock back and forth between frames and pray the carpal tunnel doesn't set in early. I also kept losing time to strange little occurrences that seemed to happen for various reasons I couldn't discern. Of course, there was the whole boneless thing, but while I was animating, Makomo's butt kept flipping to the other side of his body no matter how many times I fixed it. What? Why did it swap again? What the frick? Why does this keep happening with the front butt? Some of these things were definitely my fault. Like the butt thing was because I reversed the direction of a bone without changing how Mac's butt was attached to it. But later on, there was also this. I still have no idea what caused this, but I might know a way to fix it. Post-animating meant it was time for a stage makeover. This part was pretty fun. I downloaded a plugin that adds tons more material options for textures and stuff, which was great, but also horrible because I'm really indecisive, and if you give me hundreds of choices, I'm gonna wind up making the benches out of apple skin. I made the benches out of apple skin, but with everything set up, it was time to turn all of this into something. A quick little showcase of my progress. In Blender, if you want to export a video, you need to add a camera to your scene to record everything from the angle you'd like. And you know, I worked with cameras in college. Why not get a little fancy with it? Lesson 3 of Blender. Don't get fancy with it. I wanted to have some fun panning and orbiting shots of Makomo doing his little dumb dance, but this camera did not want to cooperate. People were offering ideas for how to get the shots I wanted that would seem to work, but then also cause other things to break. The camera just kept jumping to random ass spots like, I just want to get this butt shot. What the fuck? Blender wound up crashing a few times. Oh. Oh no. And I hadn't saved in like an hour, but it was okay. Autosave saved me, but I really ought to save more. This whole process was an ordeal that stretched out the final stream from 4 hours to 6. By the end, I was tired, frustrated, really, really hungry, but it was done. Are you ready? The greatest movie of your life. The result of 3 days of brain-numbing, finger-hurting, shoulder-crunching work. Here we go. All right, well, I'm gonna go die. I'm gonna go die. 3 days, 3 live streams, added up to roughly 20 hours of working, including the tutorials I watched. After all of that, I feel pretty proud of what I was able to accomplish in that window. Even though there were moments where I wanted to debone myself, we made it. Every art program has its own weird little quirks that can wonk everything up if you don't take the time to learn how they all fit together. I didn't have that time here, which definitely led to more frustration on my end. But now I can honestly say I have a pretty solid grasp on how Blender and 3D animation work, in the basic sense at least. I've only really scratched the surface of this program, and there are some scary doors I'll have to open if I want to do more advanced projects, but it feels way more doable than ever now. It still makes me a little nervous, but at least I have like half a leg through the door. I had friends and my entire life's worth of art experience helping me with this whole challenge of mine, but I genuinely think that anyone can give something like this a try. Whether it's Blender 3D or a musical instrument, working out, learning to code, or studying advanced knot theory. Take your big ambition and think of what the first little tiny baby steps might look like for someone learning it. I mean, getting out of your comfort zone can feel like a huge undertaking. So why not move the goalposts a bit and give yourself a time limit as a sort of push to get started, baby speedrunner style. Everyone starts somewhere, and we're only guaranteed today. So why not use today to become an even more dope version of yourself? Like you. but with the knowledge of a not theorist. In fact... Oh, I see. Yes! 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 Oh. Hey, you made it to the end of the video! Congrats! I know it was a long one. I know it's pretty different from my other videos, so let me know what you think. Also, I wanted to let you know that my shirts are back on sale right now on Jacadamia.com. I only have a limited number of these, so if you want one, come and get them, because once they're gone, they're gone. All right, thanks for making it here, and I'll see y'all later.